now plugged in to the Delphi podcast.
Hello, everyone. Nice to have everyone here. This is the Delphi podcast. Got my partner Jan with me. I'm Anil, CEO of Delphi, and we got a special guest today, Noah, one of the founders of Pump.fun. Now, obviously, I'd say that like basically our whole audience knows what Pump.fun is, but maybe Jan, you can kind of set the stage, give everyone maybe some stats or some overview of what Pump.fun is, and then we can pass it on over to Noah.
Yeah, Pump, for those unaware, launched last year and kind of took over the scene. They were doing insane numbers in Q4, and they had one of the most kind of anticipated token launches. They raised a gargantuan amount of money in the beginning of this year, and so the token traded up, then it traded down, and now we're back to about 10% above ICO price. From a market share perspective, they were the dominant launch pad, and then there was a period where Bonk kind of took over, and since then they've recaptured that market share. You know, looking at trailing numbers, they've done about 50 million in revenue over the past month, and that's 50 million that's also been delivered straight into the order book to buy back the token, and so that's a trend that seems to continue, and I think that's what's really captured the attention is, you know, in an environment where I don't think anyone would say that the trenches are thriving right now, and so despite that, they're still doing, you know, annualized the last month 600 million in buybacks, and so everyone is kind of really excited to see what they're doing, what their plans are, right? They've raised a lot of money and they have long-term plans, and so the idea is to really understand how they are looking to deploy this cash and grow the platform.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And,
Yeah.
And I'd say like obviously some disclosures, like Jan and I have pump backs, if that's not already clear. We've been really excited chat with Noah about this, because I think everyone, on CT and everything like that knows about like Elon and everything like that. But I think Noah has been like really helpful to talk to get a really good understanding of like Pump's role in crypto. Both how it can grow within crypto, but also how it can kind of grow crypto itself. So really, Noah, it'd be great to kind of start with your background, how you ended up like dedicating your life to Pump, and then we can kind of take it from there.
Sounds good. I mean, yeah, I think some people will know me probably more from like the investment facing side of things. That's kind of been my role, sort of all that sort of thing. So my face and I guess my persona is very much sort of more private. But we thought now was a good time to sort of speak about the product and sort of show different viewpoints, I guess, from internally. Because I think when a lot of people see Pump, they see sort of obviously Anil on Twitter, and then the sort of corporate account, which I think is doing like a really, really great job sort of discussing what we're planning and all that sort of stuff. But it appeals to different audiences, right? And I think that one of the reasons I'm sort of speaking on here is to try and to speak about what Pump is going to become, not only for the sort of current trench ecosystem we sort of see now, but what we want to sort of turn this company into. And I think, again, like a lot of people think like Pump is a small team. There's not many people behind this. But what's actually going on is like, I mean, there's three of us, right? So there's myself, Dylan, and then sort of Alon, the three co-founders of Pump. And now the team sort of running or working on the Pump platform indirectly is 70 people now, right? So like we're a really big team. We're still hiring. We're sort of still trying to grow it out on that front to be able to become more competitive. So to speak about my background, honestly, I don't have one. I don't have much of a background, right? Like myself, Alon, and Dylan, we're all very young, right? Like I founded the company, which is now correlated to Pump in some form at 19, right? And before that, I had basically just been to high school and had did like 6 months of university, right? And since like 16 or 17, the only thing I'd been working on was crypto. I know I started off with sort of crypto mining in my high school room, sort of like increasing the temperature up to sort of like 35 degrees Celsius because I had like four GPUs running. And then from there, I mean, it went on. Like I used that sort of, I think the $10 a day I was making along that front to sort of get in, start sort of working, and then got my first job as like a Discord moderator at a project. I always wanted to found something, but I was like, all right, how do I sort of find something in the fastest possible way and get that out to people, get the initial users and sort of investors and all that sort of stuff. So moved from this sort of Discord moderating role at a sort of job at NFT Pub, which was like a NFT perpetual futures exchange. I think you guys might know Joe. I seem to remember there was some, you guys sort of spoke about that as well. And then once, I think at that point, I was like, 18, 19, working with Alon at that point as well, because I sort of like told Joe, like, come on, let's get Alon on board as well. Now, Joe's a great guy. Like, he's actually an angel investor into the platform as well. So it's cool to sort of see how that got set up. And then from there, I mean, again, always wanted to found something. So I had like a small, like initial group of people I got to know through sort of working in business development, and then the sort of general people I've met at conferences and stuff. And then sort of decided to sort of leave NFT Perp and sort of start working on some different projects, or like one different project firstly, which was actually in the NFT space. Again, and our thesis with this was very much like, how can we create a product in the consumer side of things? Because I think this was like, what, two years ago now, 2.5 years ago, and we started working on different products, not the platform as itself. And it was just like a lot of infrastructure, like garbage out there, right? There wasn't anything which was really being used. I think like the one founder, like I think a lot of people like look at him quite badly, but the one, like the some people who like did really well last cycle or created something which people actually used, right? And that was sort of, obviously I sort of Danielle and sort of Mim, which I thought, which it kind of inspired me to an extent, right? Because his product was people were using it, right? People were using it for leverage. Then obviously sort of Terra Luna, I mean, obviously that hit a lot of people very badly, which I don't think is great. And I think it could have been handled a lot better. But he himself, like UST and stuff, like millions of people were using that, right? And I think when we thought about founding a project, we wanted to create something which people in crypto actually used and didn't just buy because of just some like sort of shitty narrative and some like Andreessen Horowitz telling you to buy it or something, or like told you that they sort of invested into it. We wanted to build something which like tens of millions of people use, and then ideally just sort of leave this industry as a whole, because I don't think as we're looking at right now, I don't think it's going too well. And I think there needs to be some serious sort of changes to get this to a scale where it can like essentially change the world in the way we want to. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I'm curious how you ended up with, obviously the whole product around Pump was to, disincentivize rugs, right? Was kind of like the whole service that was provided. And obviously it found product market fit like really quickly, both within crypto and outside of crypto. I'm curious, like, what was the journey to get there? Why was this the killer product that you kind of saw? And then what were the learnings from that, both pre-token and then obviously, we've seen this time and time again, both with our portcos, with our consulting clients. Like once you launch a token, it's like a whole other beast, right? And, a lot of teams, you can use it as like a fuel on the fire, but it also becomes a distraction at a certain point. So I'm kind of curious about that life cycle and how you guys thought about the product pre and post token.
100%. So I think not a lot of people know this. So I think we've told this story a couple times now, but people really need to understand like how difficult it actually is to hit PMF, right? Like I would say, like if you look at the top 100 tokens right now, probably like 15 of those have PMF. The rest are just like quite literally probably like some form of a scam or another one, right? So the process we got to sort of getting to this level was quite honestly failure. Like between the sort of founding of the sort of company which now services sort of Pump, we tried out like 8 or 9 different ideas just again and again and again. So we were building stuff like an NFT launchpad, which actually kind of looks similar to how the Pump mechanism works now. Then my co-founder, he was building an NFT AMM. Then we were building stuff like fundraising for content creators. So if you're a TikToker, you could essentially come online and sort of sell 5% of your future income and then get that to be tokenized. That didn't work. So we tried to do this for sort of crypto auditors, where they could sort of sell portions of themselves, kind of like poker players, to sort of decrease their volatility to make sure they sort of perform or have like a lower volatility in their sort of income. Then we tried to fork Friendtech. Then we tried to vampire tech Friendtech. Then we try to sort of do stuff in the meme coin space, some early sort of tries. And all of this stuff, like we hadn't raised much money at this point. Like we weren't one of these companies which was able to raise like millions. We had just had a few sort of very, very loyal sort of angel supporters who really, really helped us out. And we just tried again and again and again. And it was getting super tough, right? Like when you launch these products and you've been working on them for like months, and then you sort of get it out there and you sort of get this to the audience and people start using it, there's like, and then like nobody cares. Like literally just like people see the tweet and they're just like, what is this? I don't give a shit. I'm just going to move on to the next thing or go to the next tweet. Like it's really disheartening. And then we sort of finally hit it off with Pump after sort of these 9 attempts. And it's funny because like, I mean, we have some of the mock-ups still left. So if you actually look at the mock-ups in the previous products we had worked on, it's like a collab. Like Pump is literally like a collab of our sort of previous ideas. Like the NFT AMM that was like had a like the UI looked kind of similar. Then like obviously the fundraising for the tokenization of the content creators. Similar stuff we're working on now, right? So it's really just like the UI and the idea itself is actually just like it's like a mush together of all the past failures. And I think that's the biggest thing which allows you to learn. It's just failing again and again and again. And I think we take this while sort of developing for the platform now, we take this sort of mindset in a similar way where we try out a bunch of different stuff, right? Like I think in the last year and a half, we've probably done and I don't mean this in like an arrogant way or something like this, but if you actually look at what's actually been going on in crypto, like no one actually innovates. Like what has anyone actually done except sort of build another perpetual futures exchange or build a new stablecoin with like a couple different mechanics? Like we built out sort of live streaming, we built out chat, we built out sort of social features, we built out like a mobile app which is being used by hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, again, that's obviously like not too unique in the sort of in the sense of being used in the sort of centralized exchange world. But if you think about it right now, like in my opinion at least, not a single crypto company is a success. I think like Coinbase, like I honestly don't think that's a good company. Like I think like what did sort of Brian Armstrong actually do, right? He just built a Bitcoin wallet, sort of like and was the first guy to do it. And then it just started working. Like I think, and this is a conception which a lot of people need to understand, that a lot of the stuff you see in crypto is just like sort of old, archaic, lacks innovation, isn't really pushing for the future we want to see. And I really think that's what we're really trying to push with Pump. Is we're always taking like really big risks and trying stuff to not only grow the sort of the market share within crypto, but also grow the market share outside of crypto. Like because again, like if you look at the top companies in crypto, like I mean, I think Tether is like an amazing business, and then you have those guys, but these other ones, I think their upside is like 100 or 200 billion. Like if you look at like the global scale of things, these are like failed companies, right? You look at sort of like Facebook with like or Meta with like a market capitalization of like 2.5 trillion, or like Saudi Aramco. I mean, it's obviously slightly different, and like Tesla. These things have like global impact, right? And then if you compare this to something like these like crypto companies who have just been doing the same thing for the past 10 years and have like literally changed the world. Like the way I would see this is I think most of these like large crypto companies have grown because of Bitcoin and not actually because of their underlying products, right? Like I reckon if like Coinbase have just put their sort of fundraising rounds into Bitcoin, they probably have like a similar amount of cash on their balance sheet than if they would have just run their business. And obviously you can make the argument like, yeah, they sort of help like access to democratize Bitcoin and all this stuff. But the truth is a lot of businesses in crypto are sort of just like pegged to the index and sort of grow on that front. So what we're really trying to just sort of like break free and do something which no one has ever done before by really sort of escaping out of this sort of like honestly like the crypto matrix, I would say. So yeah.
So just touching on your most recent initiative to kind of fulfill that vision, you guys just launched the streaming, not just launched, but you just enhanced the kind of the fees for streamers and you know, notably basically what you guys did was increase the fee that takes place in the initial bonding curve and in the early stages of market cap. And it's not that you guys are taking any more of the fees, it's all going to creators, right? And so from the trader perspective, that 1% when you're trading this coin that's bouncing around 10% every couple of minutes, it's meaningless, right? So it doesn't really hinder their activity. But from the creator perspective, this is a meaningful amount of revenue. And you know, there were kind of anecdotal examples that you showed initially where what the creator earned previously and what they would have earned in this new fee rate environment is a 10 to 20x. And I think you guys are putting up some crazy numbers. In the first day of the new fees, there were 2.4 million in fees sent to creators. So you had this big top line number, and then going bottom up, you had these individuals who were streaming, previously to no audience, and now are streaming to a handful of people and are making pretty insane numbers. So would love to kind of hear a bit more about that and kind of how you're thinking about it going forward.
I mean, yeah, I think first of all, I you obviously see that in the creator thing, which I think is a very good start. But for everyone who thinks like, oh, Pump is just like this meme coin launchpad, or it's like this like focus on sort of meme coins, like I really ask you to sort of take a step back and look at what the product is sort of being used for and who is sort of using it. And I think the first thing like I want to sort of highlight is that a lot of the users of Pump, they're young people, right? Like the way I see it is like crypto's kind of split into this sort of like this sort of two market group where the people like above 30 who've already made a bunch of money on this sort of like the either like Bitcoin or like the Ethereum shitters like Polkadot and all that sort of stuff, which sort of have already made their money. And then there's this whole new sort of, I guess, like generation, right, between the sort of 16 and sort of 18 to sort of 24-year-olds who are all sort of coming in. And I think they're sort of really pushing, like, using Pump. And the reason I get to this is because we don't want to build like a meme coin platform. That was never our intention. We want to create a platform which allows everything to be traded, be that like short form videos, be that live streams, be that like YouTube video-esque formats, be that sort of tweets. Basically, imagine every single piece of content you see on the internet right now is investable and tradable and shareable. And I think the big thing we noticed was that with Pump, it's like it's an intrinsically sort of social product, right? If you launch a coin on the platform, or if you speak about a coin, this coin will go to make the coin go up, or any piece of content, you just speak about it, which sort of brings people in. And obviously the initial iterations were like we thought like creators owning a percentage of their coin was enough, but obviously they'd have to sell portions of their coin, of their YouTube video, or whatever, to be able to make this money. And we didn't think this was the right way. And again, like I want to like I'll get into this later as well, but to like win in the world, and especially in sort of these like hyper fast tech startups, your product needs to be 10x or like 100x better than the competition, right? And the way we're planning on sort of taking down these sort of larger sort of social media companies is, if you really look at it, like if you're a streamer on like TikTok or Instagram, or even if you become like a creator on Instagram, have like 5,000 followers, you make no money. Like you literally make like $10 a month, $20 a month, $50 a month. And that's like, that's not enough. You can't survive on that, right? And I think the truth is with Pump, we were always trying to engineer it in a way where you as the content creator were able to make like 100 times as much money as any other sort of social media platform right there. So obviously the coin stuff helps, but then the new creator fees which were recently introduced, which honestly blew my expectations out of the water completely. And I think there's a chance we're sort of close to sort of hitting this sort of like escape velocity PMF moment on the creator side of things. Like I was looking at some streams on the Pump interface last night, and there were people with like 20 viewers, right? And had been streaming for 8 minutes. Literally just started that stream. First time on Pump, first time they created, and they'd made $300 in fees in 8 minutes. And I think that just like, and that blew my mind. And I knew this was coming because this is what we had sort of orchestrated from the beginning. But if you compare that to someone like with 20 viewers, no, not even like 20 viewers on Twitch, but 20 viewers for the first time on Twitch, right? They probably make like 50 cents or like a dollar a month, right? And I think the trick here is like this is quite literally like a 300x or like a 600x better product, because you simply make more money. And the only thing creators care about, like globally on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on wherever, they only care about, I mean, obviously they care about a lot of things. They care about getting to their audience, but a big thing is obviously sort of monetary incentive. So really trying to build a world where you can come on Pump and you can make money and you can spread and you can get to like a way more, a bigger audience basically, which sort of comes with a network effect of getting these sort of high quality creators. So yeah, that's sort of our plan on that front, and we're definitely planning to sort of like this is obviously like an early iteration, this sort of new feedback stuff, but the more it's sort of tailored and sort of made better and adopted to a mass audience, I think it can get very, very special. And like this is like the first thing. Like obviously now we have the sort of mobile app which will allow us to sort of we hope to allow the sort of the product to propagate a lot faster. And then we have stuff like the DMs. Like I don't know a single other crypto company which has DMs built directly into their sort of interface. And our thesis while working for the platform has always been like, how do we create like a social spin on stuff? Why? Because if you look at sort of like OKX, Binance, BitGet, Coinbase, Mexi, KuCoin, like they're all the same product. There's no difference between this. It's just like sort of like, it's just like slop, which is sort of put out there, and it's like a reskin of the same UI, which sort of like CZ like created in sort of 2017, and then everyone's sort of competing about marketing. And like, it sounds a bit sort of cringy or whatever, but it's like, Apple's slogan is like, be different, not better, right? And I think that's like really important, because if you can sort of focus on stuff which is which sort of gets people to come to your platform for reasons which aren't just marketing, or because like this influencer is telling you to do it, and because your friends are talking on there, someone you follow is creating content, and there you can make you're able to sort of like, you have this whole different niche of audience. That's what we're really going for. And I think that the way to sort of become not only the biggest company in crypto, but the biggest company or one of the biggest companies in the world, is you have to do something so radically different. And when we sort of first created it, and you see sort of like a stream and a chart which is moving in correlation with what the streamer is doing, like I knew this was like a whole new form of content, which was going to be, which I truly believe is going to sort of take over the world. So to your question, like what we're really trying to create here is like a mixture. Imagine like Pump being a mixture of TikTok, sort of Robinhood, Twitch, and like Pump.fun, all sort of mushed together into one sort of super application, right? And sort of getting that sort of getting that sort of Zoomer audience to be able to sort of trade and then create content and consume it, right? Because if you speak to anyone in my generation who's like whatever, like 20 or like 19, 20, 21, like a lot of people, I guess, like people who aren't so just like either like super busy with jobs or that sort of stuff, they spend so much time on TikTok. Like people are spending like sort of like 8 hours a day on TikTok, and I think that that alone is like a really scary figure, and like is kind of mind blowing. But once, and our plan is, once you can add like a financial layer into that, when not only do you spend 8 hours consuming content, but you can also trade that content and sort of financially invest into each and every one of these, I think it can create something pretty special. So yeah.
Yeah, and even anecdotally, I saw basically a thread from a popular streamer who tried to recreate the experience of starting from zero, and he was just like, I couldn't get a single follower regardless of what I was doing, unless I had some form of head start, which is, you know, someone promoting it or something along those lines. It was starting from scratch is insanely difficult, and he's someone who's actually made it, right? So he knows the kind of the recipe and is still unable to do it.
On Twitch this is, or where did he say this was?
Okay, it was either Kick or Twitch.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's true, right? It's like these, like, I mean, Twitch, like that isn't even a profitable company. That's the crazy thing. Like these big companies, like globally, like I think Twitch is worth like $50 billion, something in that range. I mean, that's what it's estimated at, but obviously was sort of bought by Amazon. But if you really look into it, like it's probably just a way to sort of increase AWS's sort of bills, right? Like there's no actual value here. Same with Kick, right? Kick doesn't make any money. It's just like it's a company which is there to sort of like just like push money over to sort of stake, right? So if you really look at the world, it's actually like it's pretty messed up. Like a lot of companies don't actually make that much money, and that's why I think Pump is pretty cool, because it does make money, and it has like again like it makes money. And like the profit margins are, I presume, very high as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like a super good point to drill in on too. It's like, I think, you know, right around the ICO, a lot of people's focus was like, all right, these guys have raised, you know, have like almost $2 billion in cash, and now they're gonna go and set their sights on the streaming world, right? So it's kind of like, it's kind of interesting to hear you say like, hey, you know, Twitch and Kick aren't even our targets, right? Like they're not even like the profitable company that we want to, you know, chase after in any way, shape, or form. I'm kind of curious how, you know, it seems like the streaming, like rather than go for, you know, these big like Kai Cenats or like Aiden Rosses, where, you know, you're just spending a bunch of money, not really getting a huge ROI on that, if any, isn't really the big focus. It's really all these kind of like the exact opposite end of the spectrum of all these like, you know, creatives and streamers who aren't well known yet that now have a chance of like getting an audience, making money, etc. Like I'm curious how you guys think about, you know, streaming as far as like its role in, you know, your target to like kill Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, and everything like that. And then like, what is the biggest focus for you guys near term now that like the token is out there?
For sure. So I mean, the first thing, the caveat I want to start off with, the best product always wins, right? Like if you look at the story between like Airbnb and Brian Chesky, like obviously he started Airbnb. I can't remember the exact sort of, I think 2007, I don't know, whatever. He sort of starts off in the US, is sort of doing super well. And then it expands sort of globally and goes into Europe, right? And there's these three German brothers, again, I can't remember what they're called, but they create like an Airbnb sort of copy, right? And and they gain significant market share against Airbnb. And so Brian Chesky sort of starts panicking, understandably, right? Because I think they even have more market share in sort of Europe than him. And he sort of calls up his friends, different people. I think some people are like, oh, do you want to buy it? Do you not want to buy it? Do you want to do this? And then I believe he calls sort of Mark Zuckerberg, I think, is the guy who told him. It's like, I can't remember, maybe someone else. But he basically said, like, it doesn't matter, like, don't try and buy them. Like, the best product always wins, right? And we've seen this as well, I think, globally. If your product is like substantially better than someone else's, people will come over. So I think the first thing I want to sort of focus on is like Pump. It's like a product first operation, right? Like, you need to like be completely obsessed with what the user is doing, and then sort of granularly update the product on sort of user feedback, speaking to users, talking to them, and understanding what their concerns are, problems are, all that sort of stuff. So I think the first thing is to make like the streaming side of things like work really, really well by itself. And when you said, speaking about like the larger streamers, like, we're definitely considering doing that as well, but not many people know this. Like, very recently, I believe the company, like the development company, we spent about $500,000 on buying starter streamer kits. So this is like a webcam, a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse, all this sort of stuff to get you started. And again, like, if you guys contact us or cold DM either myself or Anil or someone like that, and you sort of pass the sort of screening, we'll send one of these kits out to you, right? Because there's no point like paying these large streamers to come on and sort of start creating content. You need a product which gets PMF, because at the end of the day, PMF is the only thing which matters. And like, if you look at history, right, the best products you've ever heard of, like Netflix, Amazon, like Twitch probably as well, like all this sort of stuff, you didn't hear about them because of advertising. You heard about them because your friends told you about them. So that's really what the sort of energy we're sort of focusing on. So you want to create this initial cohort which just sort of starts creating content by themselves, and you give them the sort of access and capability to do that. So that's the sort of first thing. So it's just like, it's about growing the market, right? Because I think that, again, like, we've sort of tied into it now that if one of these streamers can make significantly amounts more money, and they can streaming on Pump and they can somewhere else, first of all, you get them in, right? Like, they start creating content, and then these creators, they'll have followings on sort of Instagram, Twitter, whatever, like other social media platforms, or just their friends they know, and they will then bring them over to Pump, right? And they'll bring them over to start consuming content there. And this is when the network effects really start rolling, because you hit the sort of the people who are smaller or bigger, it doesn't really matter. But then, like, once they realize that the product is better, that's when it sort of starts growing out. And then the hope is obviously for Pump, I would presume, is that once more and more people get like a larger following and create more content, it's like the thesis has always been the same. The more coins which are created, there's the more content. The more content which is created, the more trading volume there is, because there's simply more higher quality coins. And then not only this, do these streamers bring in sort of other streamers, other content creators, but they bring in a whole net new audience, which, like, every other crypto company is failing to get, right? Like, I don't see anyone at Coinbase going over to sort of like watch Kaizenat stream, right? It's always like the same. And the other thing is, like, there's people don't spend much time on these. I mean, maybe on like Bybit or something, you're looking at your sort of per position and scrolling around quite a lot. But the average time spent on financial apps isn't actually that long. So it's very, very hard to sort of monetize it. If you look at something like average time on Facebook or sort of Instagram, for example, people are spending, again, like hours a day, versus Coinbase. Oh, I swipe up, check my Bitcoin for 3 seconds. Oh, it's like down 5%, up 5%. I don't really care. Let me just close the app again. Like, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, right? So we're really just trying to sort of very much focus on PMF, get the streamers to onboard other content creators, which then just keep growing and growing and growing. And then 10% of their viewers, 5% of their viewers, it doesn't really matter, convert to traders, which sort of grows the overall market. And again, these are people which have never heard of crypto before, like don't even know what crypto is. They come on board, and then they start using the product and they start loving it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk so much about like this content side too, because it's something that like within Delphi we have this content debate on. It's like, you know, whether, you know, we have a bunch of people within Delphi who are very bullish Zora, for example, right? And I think they're going towards a similar goal in almost the exact opposite way, right? Where they're starting with the content and having all coins attached to it. You guys have started with coins and then having, you know, content created around that coin. So I'm kind of curious how you think about, you know, both your approach and Zora's approach. And, you know, for me, I think I've kind of come around to this idea more and more over time, mostly because, I think nowadays you have a really easy way to like control your, diet and like, food wise or anything like that. But information diet is like the hardest thing to control. And I think like there's so much slop, if I'm scrolling my Twitter feed and I get one or two good pieces of content, I have to go through like hundreds of really shit posts and bad things. And I think something like a Pump or something like a Zora can actually help kind of like surface more valuable content or content more relevant to me. I'm kind of curious.
Exactly, right? Because like money is attributed to actual sort of like something which is sort of valuable, either because it's viral or because the sort of information is sort of based on it. I mean, again, like I've deleted like all social media off my phone. Like I just don't like using a lot of this stuff because it's really, it like sucks your soul. Like the people who sort of like scroll like on this stuff, like it's like in my opinion, it's like the worst thing ever. And I think if you're going to do it, then you might as well do it in a way where you can sort of benefit financially from it and not only just like waste your life away on it. And I think there's stuff to the Zora side of things. I think they're a great team. Like I think they get it. They understand what they're doing, and they're going for a different niche. I don't think it's necessarily competitive, but what I would always say is like you need to focus on the users you have now, not the users of tomorrow. And we made these mistakes like a couple times in sort of product development. Like when we first initially launched Pump, we were like, okay, let's just go directly for the social media stuff, and sort of jumped over a lot of the other hoops. Now we're sort of obviously sort of changing our strategy on that front. But it's just about sort of looking at and catering towards the user which you have today, and then sort of forming that user into the next iteration. Like if you look at the best products in the world, I would say Instagram is one of those, WhatsApp is one of those, Signal, all the sort of the largely used sort of like apps you use every single day, even Google, like they haven't actually changed that much. That's and I think that's like a really crazy point to understand. Like if you look at something like WhatsApp, since its inception, it's the same product. Like it hasn't changed. It's literally just like identical from what it was like 10 plus years ago or whatever. And if you really look into it, the only thing which has changed is sort of very small granular changes which allow this product to sort of hit escape velocity and sort of like get past like 10 million users, 100 million users, 1 billion users. It's even small things, just like allowing different languages, allowing group chats up to like 1,000 people. Like these very small different things can just like allow these products to sort of hit escape velocity. So that's the way I see it as well. Like we're catering towards the sort of current user base of Pump.fun, and then you have this. And then you just make small granular impacts, just like the creator rewards, which were released the other day. That alone, I think, is like 5x the total sort of streaming count on the platform, just like that, because we made a small granular increase, and that's the trick of this game. Like Instagram, like I think a lot of people look up to these founders, which I kind of get, I kind of don't. But at the end of the day, like, oh, I can just like upload my stories or upload my pictures, and then they just like copy Snapchat stories, and they copy the DMs from Snapchat, and it's just like they copy TikTok, right? It's kind of just like this sort of like this like trashy sort of like slop which has been put together, which a bunch of people sort of use. But if you really start looking into it, it's like these underlying products haven't changed that much since inception. I think, well, they have, but they've changed in small granular ways, which is obviously the best way to do it. So that's kind of the similar approach we're taking. Like very small changes can have like a massive effect. And what I think is crazy, like I think like right now, Twitch, again, valued at something like 50 billion, they have like any given time they have like between like 70 and 90,000 sort of cumulative watchers. I believe that's what I was looking at the past couple months, something around those lines. And then during the sort of live streaming peaks, and even now, we're doing like 3 to 5% of that concurrent user base, right? And then if you sort of take some sort of napkin math and sort of look at what that value plus the growth potential, I think this is where it gets sort of seriously interesting. But again, like let's just sort of focus on like product first company. You iterate and you sort of slowly grow. You don't try and hop over. You slowly grow it and then allow your audience to grow, your users to grow with the product, and not the other way around. So yeah.
Curious to understand kind of the behavior patterns of the streamers that are moving over, I guess, what they are and how you potentially anticipate they will be. Right? Are they launching one token and trying to make it one compelling thing? Or are they doing various thematic ones?
So I'll cut you off right there. Like, and I think this is a big thing. We don't try and enforce user behavior. It's like thinking about like sort of like Elon owning sort of Twitch or whatever. Like he's not telling people you have to upload about like the elections, or you have to upload about I don't know, like cables or something, right? Like the beauty about these sort of social platforms is that you want to allow the creators to have free choice. Like it's a sandbox, and they then sort of create and innovate by by themselves. I think that's like the real beauty about this stuff, is because nobody really knows what this is going to turn into. And I think this is very similar to like the early stories of sort of like YouTube and these other stuff. Like it's kind of just like it has a magic of its own, right? And I think that sort of speaks to sort of Pump.fun itself. Like the act, like I don't know, like I just remember the guy like sort of holding with his chin the sort of paper and then sort of like running over, and then that's something which doesn't exist on other sort of platforms, because it creates like a whole new niche and a whole new sort of potential usage. So it's about sort of allowing the sandbox to sort of create by itself, and then seeing, okay, so now I see, okay, this guy's using that, this guy's using this, he wants this, he wants that, and then understanding what they're doing, and then investing further resources into sort of furthering out that goal. Like for example, not many people know this, but one of the reasons we built out Livestream was because we were like obsessed with the user base, looking at these users, sort of running around, like talking to them, and suddenly we found them all in these Telegram chats in like voice channels, and they were watching streams together from the coin dev, right? So it's like, okay, why would we not tie this into the product? Then it's like, then it starts making sense. And you have like so you start getting the sort of social connectivity on that front. Then what app does every single person use in the entirety of crypto? Telegram. That's probably more used than Binance, right? So once you can use that and sort of start monetizing effectively off that, you start building this network where it's like you're sort of trading, you're talking to your friends. Like even for you guys as sort of venture capitalists or sort of liquid investors or may not, and people listening to this as well, like you speak about large deals, small deals, all this sort of stuff on Telegram, right? Like it doesn't matter. That's like the main form of communication. And not even Twitter's kind of like the town hall, I like to call it. Like everyone's sort of shit talking and talking to each other. But all your closer relationships, your friends, your buddies, your business partners are all on Telegram. So I think creating something there which is more native to a crypto audience can be like super exciting as well, right? Because like, for example, in Telegram, like you obviously have all these like sort of sloppy Telegram bots which don't really work. But then you have like, imagine something which is built for the trader, for the crypto user. Maybe it's like a special application allowing sort of VCs to invest into larger stuff. I don't know, or like investing into these sort of smaller coins or investing into pubs, right? Creating that sort of social experience around there, I think is super exciting. And another thing, like I think when we look at like the Pump.fun ICO, I'd like to touch on as well. Like our whole thought process behind the Pump.fun ICO is, why did Pump work with all these different partners? Why was there Bybit involved? Why was BitGet involved? Why was Mexi, KuCoin, Kraken, all these sort of parties involved? I think right now, like we wanted to create something which could democratize the sort of launching process and hit like the current sort of monopoly which exists in the market, right? So if you're sort of looking at the sort of current coin or like the larger coin launcher, you obviously have different options how to launch your coin, but this is something we're definitely going to invest into the future as well, is creating a platform which can allow you to launch like a product or do like your ICO, your token launch on like 10 different venues at the same time. Literally just dropping the access down and making it super easy to use, and then sort of being able to sort of compete against the like Coinbase and like these larger sort of players on that front as well. So that's pretty interesting. And I think like, sorry, I'm just going on a bit of a sort of ramble how I see sort of Pump develop. But if you look at the product as it is now, there's like, once you have like the users on your UI and you're obviously making a large sum of money and you have like a large bankroll to experiment with, like I think this is where it gets really cool. Like what not many people know is like Pump.fun has locked over like $1.6 billion worth of Solana into LP pools which can never get removed, right? Like they're sent to a burn address. So even if every single coin on Pump went to zero, which obviously would never would, but like literally zero, everything is taken out. There's like $1.5 billion of Solana, which is locked into these pools in perpetuity. So I think that obviously helps out the Solana price quite a bit. But that's an interesting fact. And then if you look at all the sort of volume on the different sort of Pump coins on any given day, it's like I think like 700 million to a billion volumes. This is for the smaller cap coins, and like the larger cap coins which have graduated are on PumpSwap and on these larger platforms. 700, like 800, 900 billion dollars in volume a day. And now like you look at this, and now you look at the stablecoin space, right? Like you look at the daily volume of sort of USDT, USDC, obviously sort of large, very, very much sort of used. But then you sort of look down a layer beyond that. Like I think the next largest coin is sort of DAI. And I wouldn't even call DAI like a stable coin. Why? Because it has no volume. It's a leverage product. Again, like USD, I got guys like a good friend of mine and a really great guy, but it's used for like it's a staking product, right? It's not necessarily used as a currency right now. Obviously, that's being changed, and I really want them to do well. But these volumes for these coins are sort of comparably low to the coins which uses actual base currencies, USDC, USDC. So what you can very simply do is, once you sort of like take Solana, if you were to create your own stablecoin, again, I think we're very far off from this, like a year plus at least, if this makes sense, and even sort of like mapping it out in some way. But suddenly you have a stablecoin here, which is doing like the third highest volume sort of globally from transaction volume, and volume equates to sort of usage, and usage basically equates to growth, right? So once you create an ecosystem which is being used by sort of hundreds of thousands and millions of people simultaneously, it allows you to sort of create all these products around it, which sort of do tremendously well. And you had like obviously BUSD for Binance that did very well until that was sort of regulated and sort of shut down. But I think like, again, like I would ask everyone listening to this to like look at Pump and like just like look at it in a different light to like everyone on Twitter, like, oh, it's a meme coin launchpad, people just like speculating there, and really understand what like this can become. And like I'm still super young, like, and the other founders are like, we're 21, like, what else am I going to do? Like, we've obviously the platform has made a lot of money. Like, what am I going to do for like the next 20 years, right? And I think it's like the plan here is really how do you create something which has a long-term sort of global impact, right? And I think that's really what we're sort of optimizing for as a company. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I've known you for 2 years now, like angeled into Pump because of Dudas, so shout out to him. And I think like that's one thing that's been really clear to me from the start is like you guys are not just super hungry but super focused. And I think that's been a takeaway that I think the market hasn't realized, and I think that's why we were excited to do this pod, especially with you, because I know like Alon goes on Thread Guy and tanks the price every other week or anything like that. But it's great to have you on to kind of talk about this focus on the platform, but then what you can kind of build on top of this. Now, obviously, there's a lot of other people who have thrown around rumors or expectations of you guys launching your own L1 or something like that. Like, I'm kind of curious, like, obviously you've brought up the stablecoin, which isn't a near-term focus, but something that you get kind of share with the market as like an idea that can be built on top later on, or a perps product or something like that. I'm curious, like, what other ideas have you guys had, within the team that you take seriously, and then whatever you feel comfortable sharing. Obviously there's a lot of copycats out there too, so I know you may not maybe a little bit hesitant to share.
For sure, yeah, I think we're a bit cautious on that front, but I think like the overarching vision is to Pump, like, we want to make it the most fun place on the internet, and we also basically want to take over the world. That's sort of the plan. So everything you guys have sort of mentioned, spoken about, it's in consideration and potentially also in development. Like we're going to turn this thing into, like, we want to gobble absolutely everything up, like every single product in crypto and beyond. We want to like absorb, like acquire, like destroy, just like take it all, right? And I think that's really the plan for this for this product long term. So yeah.
Got it. And I'm curious, like, another question that everyone has is like, you guys have almost $2 billion on the balance sheet. And I think that's kind of like a really interesting thing, because obviously, for the past few weeks, it seems that, 100% of the revenue has been going to buy back the token. You've already bought back like over 5% of the supply. And I think you guys are in a very unique place where you can use all the revenue right now to buy back the token, but still have this huge balance sheet to be able to invest in the product. Whereas I think most other teams or products in the space, even if they are making revenue, have to make that decision, right? Where it's like, hey, do I reinvest this revenue because I don't have that much money on my balance sheet, or do I buy back the token or something like that? I'm kind of curious, like, with that big amount of cash, like, what are some of the things that you guys are thinking about spending it on? Obviously, you kind of like want to spend it on creators and everything like that. You had this like I forget what it was called, but like this little fund that was buying back some of the coins to like maybe incentivize runners or something like that. Like, I'm kind of curious how you guys are thinking about that. And then also on an M&A part, like, I'm kind of curious which type of companies or which sectors are you most interested in kind of acquiring rather than building yourself?
For sure. I mean, I think that the biggest thing here is like, okay, so having a lot of money is very useful, and a lot of companies have large sums of money, and it's very easy to spend money, but it's very hard to spend money effectively, right? And I think the way companies win is and succeed long term is if money equates to sort of more money. I mean, it sounds like sort of silly, right? But that's like sort of the basic equation you got to do. Like you spend $100 on incentives, and it creates $120 in sort of revenue, right? And I think that's like the hardest granular thing to sort of do. So I think there's like multiple steps here, right? I think with a large, like, don't forget, like at this point, the platform, which I'm sort of we're sort of contracting for, is like it's competing against stuff like Binance, stuff like Coinbase, stuff like Hyperliquid, stuff like USDT, and these large companies which have don't have 2 billion, they have 100 billion, or they have $200 billion, right, ready to use for basically wiping you off the map, right? And I think so. It's like cash is like a resource you need to use to sort of solidify your position and take more and sort of slowly grow it. And then I think you can do that in multiple different ways, right? You can go do that through sort of acquisitions, not necessarily like for larger products, but with products which you believe, one, you acquiring can have like an impact on the business, or two, you kind of go down the sort of Facebook route where you see, okay, I've got all this cash, like Facebook doesn't even make that much money, but I've got all this cash from my IPO, I'm sort of sitting on it. Wow, I see WhatsApp's working. Wow, I see Instagram, I see Instagram working. I overbid massively, but then sort of catch that next consumer wave, which converts more people to my product and sort of grows out the product on that front. So I think that's like we're always on the lookout for the next small granular thing which can have like a very big impact, or even as like a separate product as a whole, but which would tie into the sort of larger family. And then experimenting. The truth is so we obviously spent money on like incentive stuff, like the sort of live streaming like incentives, or all that sort of stuff, like pro trading incentives, everything you can think of we're sort of trying. But you need to do like small granular A/B tests. I mean, when I say small, I mean like multiple millions of dollars sort of A/B tests to sort of see what's working and what isn't, and then identifying these sort of holes or potential solutions, and then throwing like enormous amounts of capital at that to sort of grow that out to sort of exponential growth, basically. So that's really the thought process behind that. But again, I think the biggest thing to take away here: capital is a weapon, and you need to use it smartly. And just spending money isn't always the best thing to do, but you need to spend it smartly. And spending money smartly will allow you to sort of get to that sort of $500 billion, $1 trillion mark, right? So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. And I'm kind of curious on this point too, because Jan and I and Delphi hasn't participated in many DATs, right? We did like a Solana one, Athena and stuff like that. But realistically, I think Pump is probably one of the rare assets that a DAT actually makes a lot of sense for, because you guys are, a cash cow that is bringing in a bunch of money that a lot of this institutional capital doesn't yet have access to, right? Or not easy access to, at least, right?
It's difficult.
I'm sure you guys have been approached about this weekly for the past 2-3 months. Have you guys considered this at all? Is there anything you
very
can
much so? Yeah, I don't want to speak too much to it, but it's very much being considered. I would say that's sort of the easiest way to put it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So on the topic of buybacks, right? You guys have done about 50 mil in the last 30 days, and that's been kind of primarily driven by this uptick in the share of revenue going to the buyback. On the initial ICO, you guys, the rumor was that you're committing 25% of revenue to the buyback. Shortly, or a few months afterwards, there was a change that sent it. That's been trailing. You've been doing it 100% of the previous day's revenue, and I think that's more akin to what we've seen with Hyperliquid, which is doing about 97%. Is there anything that can be shared in terms of how this will look going forward?
First thing I want to hit on that is I'm just pulling up the dashboard now on fees.pump.fun if anyone's interested sort of seeing about this. The total pump purchase is around 71 million USD sort of so far. And I think more than 5.3% of the supply has sort of been bought. Obviously, the start the platform was buying back 25% of daily revenue. I believe that's somewhat accurate. And then more recently, it's been sort of 100% sort of revenue buybacks. And I think sort of looking at this, seeing the sort of success stories of of this cycle and how I think companies in crypto are going to perform forwards, looking at Hyperliquid, obviously using its sort of 100% buybacks, allowing its token to get to valuations above 40 billion. Almost 50 billion in that range. And then even stuff like Binance, right? When Binance first started out, it was doing 50% of its revenue was used to buy back. 50% of its revenue was I directly used to burn BNB. I can't remember the exact mechanics, but like, I mean, I think that for us is like, while working for the Pump team, we sort of look up to the most successful platforms in this industry. And I think they're viable strategies, and we know what works and we know what doesn't. So.
Yeah, no, with so many of these, it's great or fool. And because you do have this buyback component, it actually makes sense.
Well, I mean, not even that, right? Like, I mean, a funny story for us, right? Like when we were looking for sort of investors back in the day, like I tried to like approach like Mark Andreessen like multiple different times to like sort of like different friends or like just like angel investors, but whatever else to sort of get to him. And then, or Andreessen Horowitz themselves, because like we thought like we had this like perception they were like a holy grail investor or something. We thought like, how do we sort of that's going to help us somehow, which turned out just like that fallacy is completely wrong. By the way, for any startup founders here, like all money is good. Like the quality of your VC will have zero impact on your on the outcome of your business, except for like very very sort of unique ones. I mean, Delphi obviously one of them, or like these small sort of angel investors which can have granite impact, but. Any VC you're going after for like the brand or some other like sort of nonsense like that, just like ignore, like just don't do that. So that's the first thing, obviously. So anyway, we try and go after him, try and get the intro, and then he sort of shuts us down or like doesn't want to speak to us for something like that. Out of the reason that we're like a meme coin startup, and I think it really just like speaks. It's just interesting because one like. These people are just like boomers. Like I spoke to some like old VCs recently as well, and like they don't get what like the young people are doing. Like if you ask, like if you're like 50 plus, 30 plus, 40 plus, and like what are your kids doing? What is like my nephew doing? What are like my like interns doing? If you ask them, like go around your offices and ask them like, hey, what are you doing in your free time in crypto? And at least 50% of them are trading meme coins. And I think it's time to sort of like switch on, maybe this isn't something to do with meme coins. Maybe this is something to do with like, oh wait, it's like more of a general sort of cultural shift where that sort of goes. So anyway, so try and speak to him. He sort of shuts that down, whatever, like not interested because it's meme coin stuff. But like, it's crazy because then we see this stuff like, I mean, like what, like this IP, like a literal scam, like IP, like Story Protocol is like probably like the biggest scam I've seen in my entire life, right? Like it's just like I was jaw dropped when I saw that, and so it's trading now, and like. Oh, we have all these like great investors. We've got like, oh my God, Andreessen Horowitz, all these other guys. But it's like, this is just like daylight robbery. And I think, I strongly despise this from like the crypto industry itself. Like people like make these products pretend like they're something not. Make these products pretend like they're gonna change the world. Make these products pretend like they're gonna hit millions of users when nobody uses them. And it's just a couple of like these 10 like rich guys who put their money together, pump these tokens up, like probably like fraudulent market manipulation, all kinds of horrible stuff. And then systematically extract it from the retail, from the normal guys who want to buy in, from like the young kids basically buy into these coins and get rinsed. And I think this speaks to like the reason, like why did Pump work? Like why are people using Pump? Like why are people prepared to like have fun trading these coins with pictures? It's because they're sort of fed up, right? Like everything else is just like literal trash. Like it's unbelievable, right? And it's like and this sort of really shocked me because like when you buy into I'm not going to mention any meme coins. I know it's going to cause like a massive price increase if I name any names. But if you buy into any of these coins on Pump, like you're not being lied to. Like you know what it is. It's a coin. We're here to have fun. And I know like Celestial, all these other like crazy stuff. If you buy into this, like these just like. They're like blatant scams, and it's like really, really scary because you like add on to all these like crazy narratives about like, oh my God, like interoperability, like ZK, do you know anyone who's actually used ZK Sync? Like this stuff is like, it's like really scary for me. It's just like this scamming has gone on for like years and years and years in this industry, just like stealing money from people, pretending like telling these the community members and these investors in these coins, they're going to change the world when not a single person has used, not a single person has used the product. And then can you really blame people for wanting to trade something where it's just like they're doing exactly the same thing buying sort of ZK Sync as they are buying some kind of like a Pump.fun coin? And I like the truth is like if these Pump.fun coins get big enough and like you create a big enough product and they make enough money off selling their token or like raising money just like these other infrastructure projects do, they can create stuff which also there's no underlying difference between everyone sort of getting around sort of holding hands and being like, we believe this is going to go to the moon, versus everyone getting around holding circles like, we believe this is going to like create new like an interoperable chain, which is just like a way to sort of get like sadly like not so smart people or just like the general people to buy into this stuff and then like have like weird opaque lockup terms, like really sort of like nasty and sort of like sharky sort of financial engineering to steal money and put it into like from retail's pockets into VC pockets. And then you have these like sort of large institutional investors running around and just like with glee and talking about the future of finance when the only thing they're doing is that they're just like buying nice houses and just dumping on the people who like create this industry, which is, in my opinion, like the people between 20 and 30 who are creating the stuff, which is interesting. And I think if we take a step back, like, sorry, I'm just, again, a bit of a ramble, but if you look at the world as a whole, like there's nothing actually which is being created in the past like 20 years which had like a big impact, right? Like the last like truly generational shifting product was like sort of Facebook, that sort of stuff, which really had like a little bit of impact. I mean, obviously you have like stuff like TikTok and like Bitcoin, yeah, you could say that's pretty big as well, and then like ChatGPT, but even then, just like, yeah, it's like a better Google. Okay, not really, but it's obviously a bit better than that. But like, how much of this stuff has really changed? That's the first question, I think, because the world hasn't really changed that much. Like if you sort of look at that, like, I mean, like whole Peter Thiel, like sort of stagflation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's like that's the first thing which is sort of scary. And then you sort of continue looking into this, and then it's like, where are the young founders and where's the young talent in the world right now? Like, it's either in some like sort of AI slop like ChatGPT wrapper, or it's in crypto. And I think this is one of the reasons I think which like sort of brought me to crypto, is because like all like the young successful people I know, and like I'm talking like sub 25, sub 22, like the young people who I think like will change the world ultimately, are like either in crypto or in AI. And I'm pretty sure AI is just like a lot of it is sort of hype. And I think that really speaks to me, and it really changed the way I sort of perceive the world. Because if you look at it, like back in the day, like sort of a good friend likes to speak about this a lot, but like Elon Musk is just like Elon Musk and like Peter Thiel and all these guys, like, and all these sort of Silicon Valley guys, they were just doing the same thing we were doing 20 years ago, right? They were just like taking their stocks like pet.com, or like they're pumping their sort of shitters, right? Like they're pumping the coins and they're talking about it. And then you look at these guys like 25, 30 years into the future, and these are the companies which have had like a monumental success. So I think it's like like the way I sort of like, and also like another thing I like to touch on is like the most successful people I've met, like super wealthy people, like obscenely wealthy, obscenely successful. They spend a lot of their times like vibing with young kids, and I think that's like, it's like not in like a weird way, but like they sort of see that where like it's like that's where the talent is, right? Like if you want to see where the world is going to move into over the next like 20, 30 years, you got to look at like what the kids are doing, and I think that's like that's where the alpha is basically. So yeah.
No, for sure. I think like, yeah, a lot to unpack there. I'd say that like Jan and I were really, I mean, not even surprised, because I think this constantly happens, at how mid-curve CT and how frustrated and, like, how controversial the Pump.fun kind of like ICO and launch was. For us, we just kind of like saw it very kind of like binary, black and white, that you guys built a product that had insane product market fit, and it was a service that people were happily paying money for. And I do think a lot of this, a lot of what you've been trying to get around is very fitting into the thesis that we had when we entered crypto, 8 years ago at this point, which is like, the traditional path that everyone was given, where, you go to college, you get a good degree, you go get a job, just isn't like, the best way to make it anymore, right? You can do that. You can follow everything to a T, be, super accurate on kind of like accomplishing all those goals, and still not be able to like afford a house or something when you're 30, 35, be able to like, take care of your family and everything like that. And I think one of the things that we've always loved about crypto is like, it does give people a chance to kind of break out of that. And I think one thing I've realized over the past, 2, 3, 4 years, when I talk to some of my, normie friends, is that even when I'm like, hey, you know what, just hold, a basket of Bitcoin, eat soul, like hold the majors, like these things will go up, I'm bullish on them long term, like TCA in and set it and forget it. I think one thing I've constantly heard back is like, man, Bitcoin's like 100X's behind it or something like that, right? Like, even if they believe Bitcoin's
like
going to like...
people a million, like it's like a 10x. Like, how can you like survive off a 10x? It's impossible. Like you can't. Like, and I think this is what's happened with every generation is there's like every generation creates a whole new market of like a whole new financial market, because like, I mean, you guys obviously like probably like 10, a bit older than me, right? And you obviously sort of did very well in crypto. And you looked at like, why did you enter crypto, not TradFi? Well, all the boomers already got like super rich, like pumping their like Apple stock or whatever, right? So what do you do now? Like, once like the boomers have pumped this to like the size of like a African nation or something, then it's like, what's the next thing you sort of move into? It's like you gotta really push into the like the next like layer of sort of stuff. Like you pump the Bitcoin, you pump the Ethereum, like you pump the Polkadot, the Cardano, all this sort of stuff, which gets like the 25 to 35-year-olds rich like a couple years years ago. And now it's like when all these assets are trading at like stupidly high valuations, like you got to create something which allows like the young people to make it as well. Like if you look through history, like there's always this role. There's always like a new thing. It's like same thing like you'll have like the old banks, I know, like the 80s, like the investment bank stuff. That was like the make it play. And then like came the internet. Then like all the people like went over there and like launched their shit as there. Then it's like crypto, and then it's like AI, right? It's always like this, like it's always the same cycle. It's just like reskin. Like everything you look at is like it's just a reskin of 20 years ago. And I think it's like it's like if you actually like look at it and like look at it objectively, it's kind of scary because it's just like human nature at its purest is the same thing over and over again. But it's also like no, it is, right? There's no difference. Like what's the difference between like pumping my AI stock to pumping pets.com? It's like the same trash like 20 years later. But
what's funny too is like, you know, we started Delphi as a fundamental research firm, right? So I was definitely late to memes. Like I definitely mid-curved it for a while, and I think you know, a good friend of Delphi, Ansem, was like one of the first people who really talked me through kind of like the thesis, which is like, you know, all these old people, they play the lottery and have like 1 in a million chances, and the lottery is like one of the biggest things in the world, right? And meanwhile, you know, for like Gen Z, they can like play these meme coin lotteries or whatever you want to call it, but they can actually, you know, by being like plugged into culture or being watching TikTok and know where the trends are, they can make their chances not 1 in a million, they can make it 1 in 1,000. So this is actually like
better.
A lottery
like,
where you can,
I would say the odds in crypto is like substantially better in the world than anywhere else. And this is not just like this is like based on reason. Why? Because so many people are coming over here. There's like a reason why this industry gravitates towards people, because the truth is it's like one of the only places in the world you can still make it. Like everything else is so like hyper like entrenched, or like, I mean, like I have friends like my age, sort of like from like my high school or whatever, working at like investment banks, and like, dude, you're just like slaves. Like it's like really messed up. Like
we used to work
like,
there.
You're like slaved until you're like 40 years old, and it's just like, just like go provide some of that shareholder value. You know what I mean? And like I think it's like, and crypto speaks for this, where it's like, sure, there's this like decentralization angle, but the truth is like where I think it is a lot deeper. It's a way to sort of to create for yourself and create something different and really stand out. And I think that's like everyone can sort of reskin like crypto as sort of different stuff. Like, oh my god, like it's decentralized finance or all this other stuff. I mean, there's obviously a portion of that. I don't buy it. I think most of it is just like nonsense. But I think the big thing is just like it appeals to the sort of younger generation, and I think that's like the most important thing, because like the truth is like if you look at it, like the younger generation will build the world over the next 20-30 years, right? So
and you have the tricky part of kind of social media reinforcing this notion that you have no way of actually making it. You need to gamble your way out, and so it just kind of leads to the idea that this is the only path. And then just kind of refocusing back to the next couple of months. So streaming is going to be a big thing for you guys. I think one thing that immediately comes to mind when people saw the first iteration of the streaming was that Black Mirror episode, right? Where people were just getting paid to pull off their fingernails or whatever it was on stream. And so you don't have a similar mechanism. But this was kind of the initial question I was going for. Not that you guys are going to control it. Obviously, you're going to see what's picking up and kind of support those ideas. So curious, what you see, I guess, the next couple of months looking like on your front.
For sure. So I think the first thing is like I would everyone listening to this, like get out your phone and download the Pump.fun mobile app. That's the first thing I want you to, because I think however we do in future is like it's very much mobile focused. And now why mobile focused? Quite simply, every single person has a mobile phone in their pocket, right? And if I like TikTok or I like a different sort of application on my phone, it's a lot easier to share than being like a desktop first application, like something like I don't know what is like I guess Polymarket is like online, but like just like a desktop focused application is a lot harder to go sort of viral. And when I mean viral, I don't mean 2 million users. I don't mean 5 million users. I mean like 1 billion users. Like that's the kind of like the sort of horizon you got to be looking at. And like again, the nice thing about software is like very small changes. Again, like mentioned beforehand, like going this mobile first pathway, like just increasing the shareability by like 5% has like impact on like hundreds of millions of users. So it's like very much sort of mobile focused, allowing this product to sort of go viral, and then sort of tying in the sort of social media element, which makes every interaction, every post, every every transaction be sort of globalized and allowed to sort of more people to be seen. So just like think of like, I mean, the other interesting thing about Pump is like the revenue is sort of stabilized, like retention is very strong, sort of stabilized on that front from what I'm aware. And it's like now like the question is like, right, how do you grow the market? How do you turn this into a business which is making $2 million a day to $200 million a day, right? And that is like it's about getting stuff which will grow it faster. So yeah.
I'm curious if you had anything else. I'd say that like one thing that we've seen a lot of feedback on CT and et cetera is just like, you know, right around the token launch, the lack of communication. And I think like one thing that we've seen recently is you guys have kind of like put your heads down and just like shaped up and said, all right, we're gonna communicate. Obviously you coming on this pod, wanting to do other pods is like a big part of that. I'm kind of curious, like what other things can say, you know, holders and like people in crypto expect from you, the team, and Pump, you know, both in the near term, but also like, you know, through the end of the year?
I mean, okay, I think like to be brutally honest, the launch situation could have been handled humongously better. And that was our sort of that was our error. We've learned from it. I mean, this is honestly one of the reasons why I'm sort of doing this sort of podcast now, and we're sort of very much sort of adapting our sort of communication strategy. That's a big thing. But like, I mean, guys, like my Twitter DMs are open. Alan's Twitter DMs are open. Like, if you have questions about like what we think this stuff is going to look like, just talk to us. And I promise you, like I'll make time. Like if you have an idea or you have a solution, like just DM me, like find me and I'll speak to you and I'll explain where the stuff is looking. And I think like it's our responsibility, right? Because I think like if you look at these sort of large companies, even like Robinhood and stuff like that, like a lot of it is just communicating the vision to like the to the whole world, basically, right? And I think that's the sort of thing we're going to do right now. Like that's like honestly, that's like very much the plan. Because like even now, like I would hope people who've sort of listened to this will see like a different angle of how maybe I think about this compared to Alan, or we all think the same way, but like different ways to sort of communicate it. And I think it's just like about more honest communication. And then those, again, I'm not sure if I spoke about this at the start, but again, like this will be like a part one of a sort of 2-part sort of podcast series about speaking about the sort of future of sort of what the platform is going to look like. And this one more so on the crypto side of things, and the next one more so on like how do we actually sort of go like mainstream. So yeah.
Awesome, Noah. Yeah, we would love to have you on in a few months, next year, whenever, and we can kind of like recap, see how you guys are doing, taking down TikTok, Facebook, etc. But yeah, man, great having you. Super appreciate the time. And you know, where can people find you?
I mean Twitter. Honestly, Twitter or Telegram is probably the easiest.
And what's your Twitter exactly?
Sapijiju. It's like I should be there, pretty easy to find. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool guys.
Well, appreciate the time.
Appreciate the
Thanks
time.
so much. Cool guys.
Talk soon.